Hello, Game Boys and Game Girls. I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to episode 35 of Re-Unboxing. Now, this time I don't have a box specifically that I'm pulling from because what we're going to do today is look at all the loose manuals that I have. I've got, this is mostly retro stuff, some slightly more modern. There are going to be some pieces that I've already shown that have manuals, such as some of my NES and Game Boy game boxes and things like that. Those, because they're part of a complete setup, I'm not including those because A, I've already shown them off, and B, the focus today is loose manuals. So, let's take a look. And of course, I have to start with Game Boy manuals. So, this is the most recent one that I got. This is Spider-Man 3, Invasion of the Spider Slayers. We've got Tetris 2, Adventure Island 2, Aliens in Paradise, Tiny Toon Adventures, Bab's Big Break, Double Dragon, Kirby's Pinball Land. There's another manual for Adventure Island 2, Aliens in Paradise. Not sure how or why I doubled up on that, but I'll have to check that out. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Let's see here, I got a couple of Game Boy Advance manuals stuck in there that I'll go back to later. F1 Race. Kicks or Quicks. Nemesis. Kirby's Dream Land. Tiny Toon Adventures 2, Montana's Movie Madness. The Bugs Bunny Crazy Castle. Alleyway. Lock and Chase. Tetris with sort of a purple background there. One assumes the, DMG-TR-USA-4. That's a later pressing. This is DMG-TR-USA-1 Tetris manual, so that's an earlier pressing. Boomer's Adventure in Asmic World. Play Action Football. Baseball, the original manual for that. Golf. Night Quest. RoboCop 2. Yoshi's Cookie. And Tom and Jerry. And that's one stack. Now let's go to the next stack here. We've got Tetris DX, We're Back, A Dinosaur Story, Kirby's Block Ball, 4-in-1 Fun Pack Volume 2, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Blades of Steel, couple of Game Boy Color manuals I'll go back to there. Power Mission. Boxel 2, which I don't have the game for yet, but I know that according to Jeremy Parrish, the Boxel 2 cart, or the Boxel 2 box and manual are harder to come by, and I just kind of randomly came across this at a game store. So that was a cool find. Ms. Pac-Man. Frank Thomas, Big Hurt Baseball. Disney's The Little Mermaid. The Illuminator, which was a Game Boy Light accessory. Tecmo Bowl. The Sword of Hope, Malibu Beach Volleyball, The Amazing Spider-Man, Super Mario Land, an early manual for that, The Castlevania Adventure, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, a Game Boy Precautions booklet, whoops, Dr. Mario. Looks like I have a second manual for Tetris DX. Not sure why. I'll have to double check that. Tetris 2. Another Game Boy Precautions booklet. Snuck in there. Winter Olympic Games. Lilyhammer 94. Hubert, NFL football, and finally, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, and that is the original Game Boy version manual, not the later Game Boy Color DX release. Okay, so now we'll go over some GBA and Game Boy Advance manuals here. We've got Star Wars Episode 1 Racer for Game Boy Color. Oh, there's one that snuck past. Original Game Boy manual for Killer Instinct. I'll have to add that to the Game Boy pile. Namco Museum for Game Boy Advance. A Game Boy Advance instruction booklet. You can see there. Tetris Worlds for Game Boy Advance. Game & Watch Gallery 3 for Game Boy Color. Frogger 2 for Game Boy Color. Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour for Game Boy Color, which is a mouthful. A second manual for Namco Museum for some reason. Ms. Pac-Man Special Color Edition for Game Boy Color. Don't have that one yet, but would definitely like to find the actual game. Donald Duck and Goin' Quackers. I actually remember seeing this out for the PlayStation and for the Dreamcast. Would love to find the Dreamcast version at some point. Got Finding Nemo for the Game Boy Advance. Mega Man 04, that was a great find. Lady Saya, which was an early action platformer. Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed for Game Boy Advance. Kim Possible 3 Team Possible, and that is a very thick manual for a GBA game. Disney Pixar Cars for Game Boy Advance. Mega Man Zero for Game Boy Advance. The Wild Thornberrys Rambler for Game Boy Color. Never got into that cartoon. Cartoon Network Scooby-Doo Classic Creep Capers. So I wonder if that's based on old episodes or not. Also available for the N64, believe it or not. Here is a Game Boy Color Shanghai Pocket. Here is a loose manual for Golden Sun, which is now rendered somewhat obsolete since I found a complete in box version. Centipede for Game Boy Color, which would probably be a cool version to have. Game Boy Advance collection here with Sorry, Aggravation, and Scrabble Jr., which I have. And Star Wars, The New Droid Army. So that's some Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance manuals. I'll show you some Game Gear stuff here. Get this stuff separated here from the rest. Make sure I've got everything. Oh, there's another 4-in-1 family pack, fun pack volume 2 manual. Not sure why I've got 2 of those. Alright, so for the Game Gear, we've got World Cup USA 94, FIFA International Soccer, Cliffhanger, X-Men, got, show you here, a cool Game Gear advertisement / poster in with the manuals. So we've got Batman Returns with the Game Gear logo at the bottom there, and of course a big advertisement on the other side with a ton of pictures of Game Gear games and accessories. So pretty cool to have that. We've got Star Trek The Next Generation, the Advanced Holodeck Tutorial. And of course, a Star Trek The Next Generation Advanced Holodeck Tutorial mini poster. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And this is another advertisement deal. It's got... Oh, that's the same one. It's the Batman Returns one. For some reason I have 2 of those. Joe Montana Football. Sonic the Hedgehog. Got Surf Ninjas. World Series Baseball 95. Paperboy, Earthworm Jim, Groovy, RoboCop vs. Terminator, Echo the Dolphin, Sonic Chaos, Beavis and Butthead, Slider, Ren, Hook, and Stimpy. Quest for the Shaven Yak, starring Ren, Hook, and Stimpy. I think that's how you pronounce it, Ren, Hook. Jurassic Park. It's been a while since I've seen the actual cartoon. And Tasmania. So that is a bunch of Game Gear manuals. See, I don't know that I've ever shown these. I guess I've probably shown these off once or twice, but these are some interesting manuals that were on the internet at one point, and they were manuals that I got when I bought loose carts with a few games. So I got one for Contra Hardcore on the Genesis, Truxton. These are Pinnacle game instructions, it says. Got one for Whip Rush, another Genesis shoot 'em up. Arrow Flash, bought a lot of shoot 'em ups back in the day. And another shooter, Elemental Master. So those are kind of fun to have. They're not official or anything, but they were provided by a lot of rental places and game stores in lieu of an original manual if they had a game that was traded in without one. So kind of neat to have those just because. So here's some random game manuals here. We've got Super Mario All-Stars, got Star Raiders for the 2600, a Super Scope 6 instruction booklet, and then a Super Scope 6 instruction manual. Why there are 2 books with that, I have no idea. Here is a Lord of the Rings the Third Age manual is oversized and it is in French because I believe this was from a Canadian release. And after a certain date, all games produced in Canada had to have, I think, English and French manuals. Anyway, that came with a game that I bought. E.T. the Extraterrestrial, not the worst game of all time. Defender. Bowling. Demons to Diamonds. Asteroids. Space Invaders. Circus Atari. Super Breakout. And we've got two different manuals for Yar's Revenge. We've got this one here, and then what I'm assuming is a later release, and that is Yar's Revenge, and it has a subtitle, The Cotile or Quotile Ultimatum, at the bottom. I have no idea if that was originally a part of the game or not. Warlords. Star Master. Got an Xbox manual for Pinball Hall of Fame, the Gottlieb Collection, and a ColecoVision owner's manual, which I got when I got my ColecoVision. Also have a couple of miscellaneous books here. I've got a Nintendo 3DS manual along with a bunch of the supporting stuff, and then here is my Wii U little booklet, and there's some additional, like a quick start guide for the 3DS, a Spanish quick start guide, and there's another Spanish guide. And then I've got a operations manual and system setup operations manual for the Wii. Sadly, my Wii box is long gone. I don't know what happened to it, but I at least still have the booklets in case I should ever run across a replacement box at some juncture. So, I have some PSP manuals here. Got Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, Daxter, and the Vice City Inquirer. Aliens stole my brain and drank my liquor. From the Vice City Stories game. We got Columns 3 Sega Genesis manual there. Also have Star Wars Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2 for the GameCube. Star Wars Bounty Hunter for the GameCube. Luigi's Mansion. Looks like a couple more Game Gear manuals I had grouped differently. Legend of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. Devilish. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And a second manual for Quest for the Shaven Yak. Here is Slither for ColecoVision. And this is an interesting one. This is a ColecoVision instruction page for Mountain King. Now, the Mountain King cartridge, in case you haven't seen it, is just a plain silver label that says Mountain King on it. No picture, very little text. It's pretty plain Jane. So I would buy that this is actually the official manual for the game. I don't know that for sure, but anybody into ColecoVision or have Mountain King for, say, the 2600 or 5200, let me know if they came with a similar instruction page. I have a ColecoVision and Coleco Atom catalog deal that's got a bunch of information about a ton of different games that came out for the system. Here is the manual for war games for ColecoVision. Mr. Do, good stuff. Frenzy, the sequel to Berserk. This is Ladybug. And this manual is interesting because it actually has multiple languages. It's got English, and then it also has French and German and Spanish and some different stuff. So pretty cool. Pretty forward thinking of CBS to do that. We also have Smurf. Mousetrap, good game. Got a little flyer here with some accessories talking about the controllers, the expansion module 2 there, the racing wheel, of course the expansion module 1 to play 2600 games, and then some advertisements for some different games. So neat little booklet. Cabbage Patch Kids, Adventures in the Park, Carnival, and Frogger, and Cuber. So that is some random manuals along with, I think, all or most of my ColecoVision stuff. And then this is another kind of random pile of instruction booklets here. So we've got Greatest Hits, Final Fantasy IX for PlayStation. Wild Arms, which I would love to find someday. Here's a Atari Venture manual. Street Fighter II Turbo for the Super NES. Mario Kart 64. Star Fox 64. Super Mario 64. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, which sadly I do not own yet. Here is The Legend of Zelda, excuse me, and Legend of Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Here is a Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt manual, and a manual for Gyromite. Here are a couple of Sega Saturn manuals for Clockwork Knight 2, and Corpse Killer Graveyard Edition, which I've heard is actually quite terrible, but I kind of want to own and play it just because of that reason. Here's a couple more of those Pinnacle manuals. More shoot 'em ups I bought back in the day. Gradius 3. Here's one for Darius Twin. Good game. Here's for the classic Axelay. Or Axelay. I don't know. And then, of course, F-Zero. Here's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Actually got that with the game when I bought it originally. Hyperzone. Ride and Trad. There's the actual manual for Gradius 3. There's a manual for Phalanx for the Super NES, which I don't have yet. One of the SNES shoot-em-ups that I do not have. There's Cruisin' Exotica for the N64. Another N64 here. Midway's Greatest Hits Volume 1 with some classic arcade games in there. Mega Man X6 on the original PlayStation. Would love to have that at some point. Got Wave Race 64, which is not only the manual, but also comes with this handy little operation card, it says, and information about different maneuvers and things that you can do. So that's kind of cool. Sega CD booklet for The Secret of Monkey Island. Another one I'd like to grab at some point. Here's a little booklet for the Super Game Boy. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Fun game. Revolt. Another manual for Super Mario All-Stars for some reason. Not sure how I ended up with two of those. Donkey Kong Country. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Great game. And if memory serves, the first N64 game I probably ever played at a friend's house. Another Super Mario Kart manual for some reason. And another Super Mario World manual for some reason. Here is a manual for The Getaway. Except I don't see... Oh, PlayStation. So PlayStation 2 The Getaway manual, which also comes with this nifty little poster deal. So it's got this sort of sideways thing and then this vertical deal. So, pretty cool. Slip that back in there. We've got Metroid Prime, Super Mario Strikers, and finally Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 for the GameCube. So, unless I am mistaken and I've got a stash somewhere else that I have not uncovered yet, that should be all my loose manuals. What do you guys think? Any of you looking for any of these manuals? Or need any of these to complete a boxed game or something like that? If so, let me know in the comments section below. Maybe we can work something out if it's one that I have that is not already tied to an existing cartridge. A couple of these I have that are spares, like the Super Mario All-Stars, Super Mario World, and the 4-in-1 Fun Pack. I might be willing to part with one of the duplicates and hook somebody up with one that they might need. But do you guys collect loose manuals, or do you not care about the manuals unless they're included? Let's discuss in the comments section below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at GameBoyGuru. I'll have a link in the description below to my blog where you can read my written Game Boy game reviews. That's GameBoyGuru.blogspot.com. Also, make sure you check out Nira and his channel. He provided the Super Mario Land intro music that I use for all my videos, and he's got a bunch of other great chiptune and game music covers on there as well, so make sure you go check that out. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.